Welcome, everybody, to this week's episode of the Self-Directed IRA podcast with your amazing co-hosts that are just basically nerds that love this stuff. My name is Mark Kohler. I'm here with Matt Sorensen, author of the book, the Self-Directed IRA Handbook. That's Matt Sorensen.
Yeah, baby. It's in its second edition. It's a pretty good book. You know, if you need help falling asleep at night, just put that by your bed.
Yep.
It'll do the trick.
It's good stuff. I will say I taught Matt everything I knew about 15 years ago, and then he took it to another level. So now I myself, it's interesting. I was teaching a class last night, and the whole process of this self-directed IRA concept, what I was teaching was step one. And that was, how do you get the money in the first place? Which retirement account is best? Do I use a Roth or an IRA, a 401k, a SEP? Do I do Coverdales for the kids, an HSA? What are my options to get money in? Where stage two is self-directing, which we love to talk about on this podcast. And then stage three is, how do I get it out? Do I do a 72T distribution? Can I do a loan? What's the 60-day rollover all about? Do I really wait till I'm 59 and a half? So we understand there's three phases to this process. We love it, but today is all about you. It is open forum. We should have like a producer do like some music or something.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I think, yeah, we had a laugh track at the Crypto Tax Summit. Came on a call.
That was not good.
It was not good. Yeah. But yeah, today, this is, the time we answer your questions about retirement accounts, self-directing. We got a lot of questions. You can always put those in at directedira.com/podcast. You have a self-directed IRA question that pops in your head and you don't want to pay an attorney or CPA that's knowledgeable in this stuff to answer it, put it in there. We'll answer them for free on this show.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's about what they're worth is what you paid for them. But every once in a while, there's something worth it.
Yeah, there's some juicy nuggets in there. There's a story, the juicy nugget story. That's a good one. Okay, well, let's dive into it. Now, Matt is going to be the MC of our Q&A. He's got the most recent list of questions. Yeah. So I'm going to let him state them in plain English, pose them, and I'll answer them. And Matt will either say, yes, that's correct, or no, let me give you the right answer. So yeah. Go that way.
That sounds about right. Before we get into questions too, I want to let everybody know we have the next Self-Directed IRA Summit coming up in Costa Mesa, Southern California. That's in Orange County on April 21st and 22nd. We're going to do kind of a evening thing on the 21st, a little pre-session on some business tax planning, the trifecta as we talk about it, and how your retirement account plays a role, just to set a good foundation for those going into the whole day on Friday, which is all self-directed topics, self-directed in real estate, knowing the privilege transaction rules, how to do your IRA LLC, how to use a solo K, how to get to Roth and the different Roth strategies you can do for yourself, your kids. We're getting into all that and some of the things that we've seen our successful clients do at the Self-Directed IRA Summits. You go to SDIRA Summit, SDIRAsummit.com. The tickets are up there already. It'll also be virtual. If you just want to sit from home and watch. For those of you that want to get out to Southern California in April, it's pretty nice there.
Yep. What I like about the in-person session is there'll be a little cocktail party the night before, after we do at least a 3-hour session on just tax strategies and planning, getting the money in, really that first stage I just talked about a moment ago, really building your structure to have a foundation to build all these plans upon. But then there'll be a cocktail hour, a lot of mixing and mingling. The next day during lunch, we want to divide up the tables into topics. So you're going to be sitting at tables with like-minded investors. You may say, oh, I want to sit at the real estate directed table. Oh, I want to sit at the note table, or I want to sit at a crypto table. Mm-hmm. And so we really want to try to encourage some conversation. And there'll be a VIP experience we want to roll out for maybe for Friday, Saturday night. Are we doing? No, it's Thursday, Friday. So it'll be Friday night.
Yeah, Friday night. Yeah, there'll be a VIP dinner for those that want to do that. Or there'll be, Mark and I, some of the other speakers, and then some other cool people,
It's going to rock. It's really, if you're self-directing any sort of retirement account, you want the most cutting edge info. You want to collaborate with others. And there's constant legislation and court cases and IRS rulings that could have a major bearing on what you're doing. So at least catch the virtual. The virtual will be recorded. You can always watch it later. And if you attend in person, I think you'll find it to be really fun and exciting.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. First question. What do you got?
All right, Kay, this is from Jeremy. Says, hello, Mark and Matt. I had a question regarding Roth conversions. When you convert from traditional to Roth, can you pay the tax due out of the traditional account when you convert? My traditional account has a considerable balance on it, but I want to take the hit and just convert it if that is possible. This is Jeremy in Ohio. All right.
Bring up Goonies. So,
yeah, let me answer his question, then you bring up Goonies. You want to do that? You want to do the
okay.
Goonies is amazing show.
Yeah.
Here's Jeremy. I think the Goonies thing is the kind of maybe another way to think about it. Yeah. But to get your specific question, yes, you could pay the tax out of the traditional account, but you have to take a distribution of it. So, like, let's say you want to convert $100,000. Okay, so you got to convert 100,000. You're like, but man, I'm in a 30% tax bracket, Fed, and 5% state. I'm gonna have 35 grand in a tax bill on this that I don't want to pay. Can I just take that out of my traditional IRA? Yeah, you can take a $35,000 distribution from your traditional IRA. And if you're not 59 and a half yet, 10% early withdrawal penalty. And by the way, you're paying tax on the 35,000 too. So it is painful while it is possible. In theory, communism works. In theory, you can take money out of your traditional to pay the tax.
Yeah.
But it's gonna hurt.
It's gonna hurt.
So you might want to know about the movie Goonies.
Yeah, and I will offer one alternative strategy, and we've seen a lot of clients do this, is set up some sort of loan. Maybe you do some equity stripping on some real estate. You've got an equity line on your personal residence, something like that. So because what we call this is kind of like a Roth freeze. You've paid the tax. It's done. So if you're paying off a loan for a couple of years on the tax bill to do the conversion, that's great. You'll never pay tax again. You've frozen it in time. Now that Roth is going to grow and escalate. And so rather than do a traditional distribution and the 10% penalty and tax and all that, I would really like to see you dip into personal savings or an equity line or something to rip the Band-Aid off, do the conversion, never pay tax again, but find a resource rather than a distribution. Now, Goonies, Steven Spielberg, one of his first movies that really put his name on the map. Great show. If you're
wasn't E.T. before this?
No, I thought E.T. was after.
Was it? Okay. All right.
Oh, I could be wrong. No, I'm going to have to look that up here. We'll have a little. Okay. We'll have see who's right there. But anyway, in the movie Goonies, there's a character named Chunk, and he's quite a colorful character and it's funny. But we've adopted Chunk as our mascot for this Roth conversion strategy. Okay. So what we want to do is chunk at the traditional IRA. Yeah. And I've got a video on YouTube, and Matt and I've done it also before on our podcast where we have a whiteboard. And you have to remember it's a graduated tax rate schedule. It's in your calendar. If you've gotten the Mark J. Kohler calendar, it'll be soon sold out. We have our last print run today, frankly. And in the calendar, you'll see the tax tables that we've created for you there, easy to find. But you might, Jeremy, by converting too much of the traditional, you might jump into a higher tax bracket with the next dollar at some point. And so you want to say, ooh, I'm going to stay in a lower tax bracket range for this chunk, and I'm going to convert it. Then I'm going to wait till January 1st, 2023 and chunk the rest. So that way you're putting those chunks in a tax bracket line where your next dollar could literally have a 7 to 10% swing in taxes when you put Fed and state into the mix. So look at it in partial chunks, look at what the tax is going to be due, and create a plan. You don't have to do it all at once. Have a 2 to 3 year plan to make it happen. And you might be more advantageous that way.
Yeah. Love it. All right. Next question up is David. David says, best podcast ever.
Woo! Woo!
I happen to agree. Says,
Okay.
also had an amazing experience at Directed IRA setting up my solo 401k. You guys rock. Said my side hustle that sponsors my solo 401k flips vacant land. Okay, so David's got a side business where he flips vacant land in his own business.
Okay.
And that business adopted the solo 401k for him because he's such a good employee of that land flipping business. He says, do you think I could also flip 1 or 2 properties a year inside my 401k without triggering UBIT? My accountant thinks it's too risky since flipping land is the active business that sponsors my 401k.
Oh, now do I get first bite at the apple now?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. A little, I've got to get a movie reference on every answer of mine. So a little Snow White action here.
Yes, it was. Okay.
First bite at the apple here.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, when bite, don't you like, isn't that a negative thing? Biting that apple, doesn't you like die or like go and I don't know what happens.
Glass half full, glass half empty, whatever you want.
Okay. You can bite away.
Yeah. I think of a better movie.
I'll take the second bite as long as you don't die.
Yeah, there you go. The answer, and it was David, right?
David, yep.
Yep. Okay. So David, and this is a great question for everyone out there, because I hate to say, David, your accountant is wrong. The IRS looks at your retirement account as an independent taxpayer, for lack of a better word, an independent entity that has to go through its own test of whether or not it's been deemed a real estate professional. It's become a professional operation, and you're now subject to UBIT. And your personal activity is unrelated, and the activity of your retirement account to you is unrelated. One analogy here, or example, to just highlight this for all of you out there that might be a day job dentist or chiropractor or plumber, electrician, attorney, and you say, I'm going to go out and flip 2 or 3 properties or raw land or do a little weekend repair on a project. I love watching Chip and Joanna, and I'm going to go for it. You don't pay self-employment tax on that if you can keep the frequency in this 2 to 3 range. It's just short-term capital gain. It's a great little side hustle. But once you start flipping more than 2 or 3 properties, you've got to run it through an S corporation. And I presume that's what David's done. He set up the solo. He's off to the races. He's probably flipping 3 to 10 properties. And so the same thing applies to your retirement account. Once you go over 2 or 3, it's not self-employment tax that catches you. It's this UBIT. And the IRS is trying to level the playing field. They're saying, if you're going to go out and flip properties that frequently, you got to pay tax like the other developers. It's not fair that you get to compete with them without tax. So
yeah, I totally agree. And I think the front end of what Mark said is like your retirement account is a separate taxpayer than you personally. So the test is separate. So don't, just because you do flip land in the business that adopted the solo K doesn't mean that's going to hurt you in the analysis of UBIT and what the 401k does. Because if you do have UBIT, it's not going on your 1040. It's not going on your business return on your personal side. It's going on a 990T that 401k is going to file. So it's a separate analysis and a separate tax, a separate calculation. So don't worry, that's not going to hurt you. I think you'd be cool doing the 1 to 2 flips a year inside the solo K that you talked about doing.
Yeah. And I want to clarify, 5,500 easy on the 401k, 990T on an IRA.
Yeah. But if you have UBIT, the 401k still files the 990T.
Oh, in conjunction. That's right. That's
you
right.
Still have the 5,500, but you would do the 990T on the 401k because that's what you do for the UBIT.
To send in the money. Good call. And I would throw this out too. What's funny, people, is we get clients calling up with the reverse of that. They're saying, I've got personal rentals. I want to qualify as a real estate professional. Can I attribute all these flips going on in my IRA to me personally? Because now I can show I'm a real estate professional and I get, ordinary loss write-offs on all my rental properties. No, your IRA's deals are your IRA's deals, your 401k deals are your 401k deals, and your deals are your deals. So in the big scheme of things, this is actually probably a good thing. So David, sorry, it's not the answer you, well, actually, this is the answer.
That's a good one for you. Yeah.
Yeah, this is good for David.
No, we're overruling your accountant, David.
Yes, there you go.
Overruled.
All
right. Okay. Keith has a good question. Keith's question is, Mark and I were just talking about this before the podcast. So he's got a great question. So, all right. He says, greetings. I have a Roth IRA LLC set up with cryptocurrency. I have a business account with Titan Bank. Great. We've used them quite a bit. Next phase is establishing a trading account. I'm looking at an institutional account that includes a wallet with Coinbase. Cool. Due to the limited features of Coinbase, I would require an additional wallet, a MetaMask wallet, to import currency, Ethereum, from Coinbase and exchange it for hex tokens in the MetaMask wallet. Okay, there's a lot of crypto that you're not going to buy with fiat. You can come in with Ethereum, for example, and get like this hex token here and want to do it in a MetaMask wallet. Okay, get it? The hex tokens would be staked for variable periods. Okay, the Coinbase account and MetaMask wallet would be in the name of the LLC. The question is, would this structure violate any IRS regulations currently known that would impact the Roth IRA LLC setup?
Ooh, okay, very good. I like that. Currently known.
Yeah.
All right, this is your shot.
Can we go?
Yeah,
okay.
You get first dibs.
So here's the hard thing, Keith. You can do this, but you're a pioneer. I think a lot of clients like Keith want us to just put our stamp of approval on it and be like, don't worry, you're going to have no problems with that. Now, there's a lot of ways you can buy crypto in an IRA that's pretty easy. We have no questions about there being any legal issues with the IRS or violating any regulations. And that's if your IRA owns the crypto. It owns a institutional wallet directly. And we have our Gemini product where your IRA, directed IRA, owns a Gemini trading account that has the crypto. Now, I know some people don't like that. They want to have their keys, or they want to do some DeFi stuff. They want to get into hex tokens like Keith here that you're not going to be able to do at a place like Gemini or even at Coinbase. He's got to go from Coinbase to a MetaMask wallet. So if you essentially want to control your keys, and you want to, let's say, use a MetaMask wallet, it's possible as long as the LLC owns that. But do we know that that's going to be okay? We don't know 100%. Is there a current regulation that says you can't? Nope.
Yeah.
Do we know what's going to come down from the IRS or how the IRS is going to look at this and treat this? Not really. There's been some cases about precious metals where you can't have possession of the precious metals, but there's a specific law in the IRA code about precious metals. There's not about crypto. And if you think about crypto is still on the blockchain. You may have the keys and control of them in a MetaMask wallet, but the crypto is still technically on a blockchain, so you don't actually possess the crypto. So there's some confusion on that because there's a precious metals case for IRA LLCs, but there's a specific rule about precious metals that you can't have personal possession and home storage. So the DeFi crypto and using the LLC with hardware type wallets that's often exchange where you have total control of it.
Cold storage
is we just don't know. We can't say 100% it's okay. But on the other hand, there is not a current known regulation against it.
Yeah. I would say this, and I totally concur with Matt, you're going to be a pioneer. We can't say it's right or wrong. One thing I would recommend you do if you go down this path is make sure that you're very careful not to commingle wallets and you have a really good accounting system of where things are at. See, I set up a MetaMask wallet last week. All they need is an email and a phone number. You're done. I don't even think the phone number. Yeah, I had to give a phone number. So email and a phone number, you're done. Well, when you go to open up the MetaMask wallet for your LLC or your charitable trust, which we've been doing a lot of, you got to come up with a different email. You've got to make sure that the ledger is not commingled with your personal ledger. That's really what that's your get out of jail free card, because you want to be able to say, I didn't commingle here. You start moving crypto around, and this is what crypto traders do. They're freaking moving money and coins every day between all sorts of wallets and Phantom and MetaMask and everywhere. And you're like, oh my hell. Just try not to commingle if you're going to go down this path.
Yeah.
So, all right.
Yeah. And we get it. And so I just want to, for someone like Keith, I wish we had a better answer, but frankly, the IRS has not came in and regulated this, given any guidance. There's no cases on it. The tax code didn't even envision cryptocurrency. And so in some ways there's a benefit because there's no restriction on it, but we also don't have a clear green light either. And so we're a little cautious on it. We let clients do it, we'll set up an LLC and you can do this, some of this, what you're wanting to do, Keith, but you also can't get an answer from a lawyer, and we can't. I don't know. Maybe there's a lawyer out there that put their name behind it that says, "Don't worry, this is totally cool."
Yeah, good call. And I would say this, there's been some comments on social media on this where people go, you don't control your crypto IRA. It's not yours. Watch out and all that. No, it's not saying your crypto IRA LLC or a direct account in the name of your crypto, your IRA. Any of those types of structures doesn't mean everything's at risk. Please be careful of that rhetoric. I think there's a little sliver of crypto traders out there that are conspiracy oriented, that if you don't hold the coins or the tokens or your keys, you're going to lose them. Be careful buying into that wholeheartedly. I think there's a lot of protective structures out there to allow you to do this.
Yeah, and there's pros and cons. If that's how you feel, you're not going to get the same warm and fuzzy about the IRS regs and rules about you then controlling the crypto keys. So when we're talking IRAs, so if it's in your personal side of the equation, I get it. It's not really an issue in terms of, we don't have a retirement account issue and possession and custody issue. But in retirement accounts, you take a little risk from the legal side doing that, So you got to just keep that all in context when you're making those decisions. So,
yeah, love it.
Okay, there's a good question, actually. I think this is perfect for you, Mark, actually.
Oh, and you know what, Matt? I want to add this for all of our real estate investors out there. Let me bring it around, because I know some of you don't have any interest in cryptocurrency. You're here for the directed IRA strategies. This whole thing about holding your keys in your crypto is similar to having an RV rental in your IRA. And we've got clients that own personal property and real estate in their IRAs or 401ks and rent them. Very common, actually. So if you have an RV in your IRA that you're renting, you may have a blocker set up for UBIT and a few things like that, and you've got a great rate of return. That's cool. Can you park the RV in your garage? No, you cannot. You may say, it's not safe over at my RV storage unit. I don't trust the RV storage place.
Yeah.
Well, I get it. You may not trust Coinbase.
Yeah.
The point is, you can't park your RV at your house. That's self-custody of an IRA asset. And so that may help some of you as you're thinking about doing deals as well, is that what your IRA owns needs to really be held, managed, and taken care of by a separate third party. You can't park it in your own garage. So that's really what these crypto traders are talking about. I want those keys in my garage because I feel they're safer there. Well, don't feel picked on. This is the same rule for the RV runner.
Yeah, I like that. Okay, this is Alaire. Alaire asks, hi guys, I am 22 and a recent college grad. I found both of your podcasts a few months ago and then listen anytime I can get an episode in.
Oh man. Gosh, what a great 22-year-old.
I know.
I'm like, who are you?
I know.
I was like, yeah, I had my.
I don't know if it's a guy or a girl. Alaire.
Yeah.
Alaire. I don't know. So anyway, says, I've been listening for a while, but have no action, but have taken no action because I'm not sure where to start. Well, don't feel bad. You're 22. There's a lot of people that are 50 saying the same thing. Okay.
You got an answer for her.
Yeah. Says, my question is, what should someone like me do to start to plan their retirement, protect their assets, and work towards tax savings? For reference, I have a W-2 job with good benefits, 401k match, HSA match, etc. No debt, but also no assets yet. I plan to invest in single-family rental homes and open up a small side business. Just trying to see what I can do now that will help me get ahead.
I love it. Okay. Now I know I made the final comment on the last question, but you got first shot. So I'll be brief with my first shot.
Okay. That's all right.
Okay. Thanks. I literally talked about this last night at that class I was teaching, and I'll just get right to it. The number one best retirement plan to start with, I don't care how old you are, how young you are, whether you're a business owner or not, and I don't even care what your income level is. The first place to start on your path is a Roth IRA. Now I've got one caveat to it, but the Roth IRA is so powerful, and you can start right now by just saying, I'm going to do $50 a week $500 a month. Your cap is going to be about $500 a month, because that's going to be $6,000 for the year. And if you can say, I'm going to start a side hustle and I'm going to take the first $500 of profit from my side hustle and just pump it into my IRA. Well, I've got tables on my website that can show you at age 22, putting 500 a week, I mean, 500 a month into a Roth IRA. Holy crap, you're going to have like 20 million by the time you're 60 years old. So you've got some amazing opportunity at your age. My caveat is what I call matching out. The one thing you said in your fact pattern that a lot of people don't have, some do, is if you've got a company that's going to match your 401k contribution, start there. That's 100% return. So if you can put 3 or 4 grand in your 401k at work and they match it, do it. You just doubled your money. Then get out, go put the money in your Roth and build that up. And meanwhile, be building your personal savings account for that future rental. So that's what I'd say, Matt. Your thoughts?
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Also, too, if on the 401k, particularly someone younger who's usually going to be in a lower tax bracket, you might be able to do in the Roth 401k, which at one point when you leave, you could roll into this Roth IRA you're also contributing to.
Good call.
So here's another thing I want you to think about. And this is someone at 22. This could be someone at 50. That's kind of in this spot where it's like, okay, I paid down my debt. And I love that as a good point that Larry made, or Larry, sorry if I'm killing it. That's a good distinction, because some of us need to get out of debt first. We're getting killed on credit card debt or things that we want to save for retirement, but frankly, you got to stop the bleeding over here at an 18% rate, that you're getting charged on credit card debt. So there's some things you got to do there first. But then it's like, okay, let me deploy what I can into retirement accounts. I think one thing with self-directing that can sometimes be a little frustrating is if you're starting at zero, you're probably not self-directing your first year or two. Okay. There's a process here of learning to save. Okay. You're socking the money away. You're getting it into the account. You're building it up. Maybe you're buying the S&P 500 fund or something boring, but it's really about getting money saving, getting a little bit of return on it. And then once you get enough to do a self-directed deal, let's say you want to do real estate, you talked about single family rental homes. If you want to do real estate with the retirement account, you might need to get to 30 or 40 grand. I mean, my first deal that I did in my retirement account buying a rental, I did it about 40,000. I had 40,000 in my account and I bought the property and I got a non-recourse loan on it too. It's been an awesome investment. I still have that property in my account today. But I couldn't even do it on year one. I mean, I know this stuff, the retirement account stuff upwards and down. So just have a little patience. You're 22, just start that saving process. And I love what Mark said about the Roth IRA. Remember with the Roth IRA, if you end up needing that 6 grand back that you put in, or 18 grand over 3 years, you can take it out, no penalty.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, why would you not put it in there?
I love it. I'm going to just add one little, what do you call amendment, addition, codicil?
Yeah, codicil. Codicil.
The will out there. One thing that Matt said that I think is a little side note that really is a golden nugget, and that is getting out of debt first. Please know where we stand on that. I think Dave Ramsey has saved the lives of millions of Americans. I love his debt-free day project and Financial Peace University. He does a great job. But at the same token, Matt and I draw a line. I think sometimes he goes too far and says, you shouldn't even have debt for a rental property or debt on a modest home. So when we talk about getting out of debt, we're really focusing on credit card debt and auto loans. Let's get rid of those right out of the gate as quickly as we can. But having a modest home mortgage with the interest rates that they're at right now, I don't want you to wait to start saving until you pay off your home. Let's slow down, Tiger. Let's get saving right away. If you have to get a loan to buy a rental property that makes you money, that's a productive loan. Maybe there's a loan to start a business with SBA that makes sense with a well thought out business plan. And maybe you're going to be paying off some student debt. But again, I don't want you to wait to pay off student debt before you invest as well. So there's some loans that are productive that we're not saying wait to invest until then. But definitely get rid of that low-hanging crappy debt that is just a noose around your neck.
Okay, love it. All right, let's go to Karen's question. There's a couple other crypto questions. There's a lot of crypto questions, and let me say this for those on the crypto questions. We teach the IRA LLC, and we're going to go over that at the Self-Directed IRA Summit. But I've also got a little more content on using the IRA LLC for crypto. Like the IRA LLC has been a tool really used by real estate investors primarily. It's used for other things. Note investors use it too, but it's really been a powerful tool for real estate investors that we've been using with a lot of our crypto clients. And so we're going to walk through that at the summit. And again, it's virtual. You can come live. There's a lot of questions on this, similar to one of the questions we hit. And I think there's some things to know, tips on how to do it right. But also, there's not like a rubber stamp yet from the IRS. We haven't had enough case laws or any guidance on it like we have in the real estate context on how you can use it and can't.
Yeah, and I thought you were going to say, Matt, and this is the brother-sister yin and yang of this whole topic, is the 2-day Self-Directed IRA Summit in April, absolutely critical. Follow it up in May with our 2-day Crypto Tax Summit down in Miami, which is the epicenter of crypto trading. So we're going to have a 2-day down there, which will cover crypto tax strategies, metaverse, DeFi, staking, all those things you might be doing outside of your IRA as well. So it's really a 1-2 punch. So if you're planning your next few months for your education, if you can, come down in person to Southern Cal in April, get out to Miami in May. They will both be held virtually, and you can get to the tax summit at cryptotaxsummit.com, cryptotaxsummit.com, and check that out.
Yeah.
Okay, so question.
All right, so this is a question from Karen. Hey guys, just started reading the book. Thanks, by the way, for that. Of course, I was going to read this, Karen. Brand new to this stuff right now. I have two questions that are unrelated. First is on prohibited transactions. From the explanation, the parties involved cannot be on opposite sides of the transaction. For example, I can't buy from my parents in my self-directed IRA, but what if we're on the same side of the transaction? Is that okay? We go in together, each with our IRAs, to make a purchase. Is that okay? Also, I didn't see anything about siblings, just direct line progeny.
Love it.
All right. You want to hit that one?
You got first shot.
Okay. All right, Karen, great question. So you're describing it exactly right. The prohibited transactions restrict your retirement account from transacting with someone. Your IRA is buying or selling with someone else on the other side of the transaction. And if that person on the other end of the transaction is on this list of disqualified people, like your spouse, your parent, your kids, that's going to cause a prohibited transaction. But like you said, and I like how you said it, what if you're on the same side of the transaction? It's your IRA and your parents' IRA, and you're going into an investment together. You're both buyers of an investment. You're not buying and selling between each other. You're both buying something. Let's say it's a piece of real estate for $100,000. Your IRA is putting in 50. Your parents' IRA, your mom's IRA, let's say, is putting in 50. That's okay. Your IRA and your mom can't transact, or your mom's IRA, those can't transact between each other, but you guys can co-invest. And we usually do that in a multi-member IRA LLC. There's a chapter in my book on that. We've got some stuff on the Direct IRA website on it, some videos. We've even done a prior podcast episode, maybe around like episode 10 or so would be my guess, on that. And yes, you can co-invest together. We're going to break up the ownership in the LLC based on the dollars. So if your IRA put in 70 grand and your mom's IRA put in 30 grand, we're going to go 70% your IRA, 30% your mom's IRA. Then that LLC goes and buy the property. LLC collects the rent, pays the bills, profit goes in the LLC, and you're splitting it up between your IRA 70%, your mom's IRA 30%.
I love it. Well, my follow-up comment on that question is again going to be a little offshoot, if you will. When Matt said, he gets first shot, I have to say what came to mind, not a movie, Broadway play, Hamilton.
Yeah.
Right?
You're not throwing away my shot.
My shot. I cannot rap, so I'm going to hold back.
Yeah.
But for those that have seen
great one.
Oh, such a good song. And if you haven't seen the play Hamilton, that's the story of Alexander Hamilton, who happens to be on the $10 bill, FYI. if you wondered who he was, the first Treasury Secretary of the United States of America. But you can watch it on some of the streaming channels. But there's a song in there, and I just want to say this. This is the feel-good part of the show today. There's a song called "My Shot," and it's early on in the show. You can listen to it on YouTube. It's so good. Got a lot of energy. But the theme of that song, which is I think really powerful and a part of some of the conversation today, is that he says, "I'm going to take my shot. I got one shot. I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to miss this opportunity." And the Revolutionary War was starting to evolve. And he was like, "I want to be a part of this. I want to make my mark in society, and I'm going to take my shot. Whether I die or not, I'm not going to leave anything on the table." And I just think that's so powerful, because with this whole directed IRA conversation, and I loved Elena, her comment about, "I'm 22 years old. What should I do?" Oh my gosh, girl, our hats are off to you. There's people listening to this show that are in their 60s or 70s saying to themselves, "Oh my gosh, if I would have listened to podcasts like this when I was 22 years old." And so, you know what, people, take your shot. Do it.
Yeah.
Get going. You don't need to have a fancier car. You don't need to go on a bigger trip this year. Set aside some money. Start saving for the future, because you're going to miss out if you don't.
Yeah. Love it. That song, "My Shot." So I have a playlist. It's like my hype playlist.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I got a lot of personal stuff involved in that, but it's got some awesome songs, but that's in there. So I love that. And then I've also got
Kid Roth.
No. I've got Eminem's song. "One Shot,"
Yeah.
So that one, is kind of a similar
story.
message.
Yeah. Eminem. Very interesting story. 8 Mile. I mean,
pretty, like Mom's Spaghetti,
That's so good.
One of the best lines in that song. But that song's about him getting up on stage and having his one shot to make it and prove himself, and as a rapper, and sometimes you do only get one shot. And there's a lot of parallels to investing and in our personal lives and things we're trying to do. But and sometimes that one shot, it comes in multiple options, but you've got to hit it every time to make something happen. But I've loved a lot of these questions, and I was going to say too, on some of the crypto questions that came up about using the LLC and basically using a hardware wallet, going off an exchange, doing some of the DeFi stuff. We love that. I mean, I love that. I'm actually looking and doing some of it myself in my own IRA LLC. But I do a little pushback when clients want me to go say, "It's totally cool, don't worry about it," for everyone else, and me as a lawyer telling you that. I want to be able to tell you that. I just can't. I don't want to mislead anyone either.
Yeah.
And so in some ways, those of us doing that, you that may be listening, some of those, there's a few other questions in here basically asking the same thing. I think one way to think about it is we are taking our shot in one way. We're also kind of like part of this drug trial, We're the ones out there saying, is this going to work and help us or not? Or is this going to be, is there going to be some side effects to this that no one thought about? That's kind of where we're at. We're in this little trial phase right now because crypto is so new. There hasn't been regulation on it. The IRS this is way low on their list, but they'll eventually get around to it. And so it's tough. It's just a tough place as a tax lawyer to be advising clients. We want to be on the front lines of this. We want clients to have as much control of their retirement assets as possible. We love that. We think that's what makes many of our clients successful. But at the same time, we have the IRS and their opinions and stuff that we're trying to moderate and help give you more straightforward advice and not just tell you what you want to hear.
Yeah. I had one question from yesterday on a phone call, Matt, if I could, and then you choose one last question for yourself. Is that all right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. So this was a client that has a 401k, and it's a group 401k with multiple partners. And they've been building this 401k, doing real estate development for 10 plus years. And it's got millions of dollars in it. They've done a really good job of being careful managing it. It's been a good deal for them. Well, he called his two of his partners and himself, called their 401k administrator or trustee over their plan. Yeah. And they were trying to do some investing. with the 401k outside of their normal kind of LLC setup process that they would do with the development. And they just got this ton of pushback. They were using a IRA custodial trust company provider, I will leave unnamed, that's kind of a big player in the industry. And that was who was, for lack of a better word, hosting their 401k. And they said, no, you can't do that. You can't do this. You can't do that. And they were like, really, I've heard of other people doing it. But luckily, they didn't just take that at face value. They said, we need a second opinion. So one of the partners is a client, and he called up and he's like, dude, is that really true? And I go, no, it's the policy of the company that's hosting your 401k. That's not tax law. That's their policy. And they're going to tell you that because they don't want to lose you as a client. They don't want you to shut down the 401k or move it. They're being extremely protective of that relationship. And I got on the phone months ago with that trustee and got into it. And they just, and they're like, really? They're not that way. They're such good people.
You know, as long as you fall in line with what they want to do.
Yeah, exactly. And so I said, you need a meeting with your partners, and what you want to do, we can do it next month, but you got to close down your plan, roll it out to IRAs, and set up a new 401k where you have a platform that allows for these different things, and use a different administrator or trust company or trustee to do it. TPA. There's all sorts of terms out there. But anyway, the moral of the story was, with their question was, many of you are going to get pushback from some of the financial advisors or custodians or trust companies or whatever you're working with. Say, thank you very much, make a note, and then do your research. And these are great things to bring up to us and our tax lawyers, because we have no vested interest in if you have $50 or $5 million in your account. We want to just tell you what you can do, where you can do it, and how you can do it. And so just want to hats off to all of you that don't give up. Keep pushing hard, and pushback is okay.
Yeah, love that. Okay, Greg, last question. Greg, it's last question here. He says, longtime listener, first time caller.
Woo.
That's a throwback to any of you who listen to talk radio or a radio call-in show.
That was Rush Limbaugh, right? And then people would say ditto, or what they say if they're like what they said. What would he say? Was it ditto? Anyway,
I don't remember.
Rush Limbaugh days. Okay.
This was a long-time listener, first-time caller. Anyway, he says, I got some money in a 401k with a company that I no longer work for. Says, I have a small accounting practice that I operate as a single member LLC. Gross roughly 30,000, netted 10 in 2021. Didn't make an S election. Thinking I want to roll that old 401k money into a solo K under my business. Can I do this? And do I need to make an S election before doing this? Ooh, all right, Greg. Love the question. Absolutely, yes, you can do this. You got a single member LLC. We'll set up the solo K under the name of the LLC. And you can roll that old employer 401k into the solo 401k, where you're going to have an account, and your single member LLC for your accounting practice is going to be the employer that adopts this 401k for you, the amazing employee you are. Now, so the S election question, in your instance, since you already have a single member LLC, it's pretty easy, because we're going to set up the plan under the name of the LLC. And then if you add an S election to it, you can do that now, you can do it later, you can do it in 5 years. The solo K is going to stay the same. Now, this is a little unique, though, from someone that's a sole proprietorship that doesn't have an LLC.
Yeah.
Because sometimes clients are like, well, I'm a sole proprietor. I'm just, operating under my name and my social. It goes on Schedule C, but it is this legit little side business or small business. But I might be an S corporation next year. Should I set up the solo K under my sole proprietorship and then do an S corp next year? No, that's a little tricky, because we have to change the plan. The employer changes, it's a little more complicated. But Greg, in your instance, where it's going to be a single member LLC now, the plan's under the name of the LLC, you had an S election next year or 3 years later, it's not going to change the plan. It's going to stay the same. You're not going to have any changes you're going to need to make. That solo K is going to operate the same.
I love it. I would add this. What's his first name again?
Greg.
Greg. One thing, Greg, and all of you out there, the technical point that Matt's making is make sure the LLC has a tax ID number. Some people out there set up an LLC and operate as a sole proprietor, but still use their social. And that, so you may say, well, I have an LLC, so I'm okay. Yeah, but we're going to assume the LLC has a tax ID number, because when you make that S election later, it piggybacks onto that same tax ID number. And so, Greg, you're right where you're supposed to be. Don't worry about the S election. Make that decision independent of this. Get the solo 401k going, roll that money, take control, take your shot, baby. Do it. You got one shot, do it.
Yeah.
And
don't throw it away.
Yeah. Any of you
You
that
only
are
got one shot. Do not miss your chance to lose. Your opportunity comes once in a lifetime. Oh, it's good.
Oh, so good. So good. But I say this to all of you out there that are an Uber driver or driving for, Grubhub or some sort of delivery service or just a little consulting on the side. Set up the LLC before you go down this path, because you don't want to have to restate the 401k. Really, it comes down to almost redoing the whole thing, and the cost is going to be very similar to the first round. So we're going to forewarn you now, sole proprietors that call up and want to do a solo, we really encourage them to do the LLC, get a tax ID number, because then later on, when you make the S selection, there's no cost. It's done. You're good. You're all good.
Yep. Well, thanks everybody for all the awesome questions. Open forums, always fun. It's always good for us to see what questions are out there. Remember, you can always get over to directedira.com/podcast. There's an ask a question button there. You can submit it. Whatever channel you're listening to on here, please give us a like, a thumbs up, subscribe, whatever positive things you can do those positive things. If you don't like the show, you can email Mark, send him your feedback. and
you'll get no response, but that's okay.
Remember, we got lots of events coming up with the Self-Directed IRA Summit, the Crypto Tax Summit. Make sure you're subscribed to our newsletter, which you can do at directedira.com or at markjkohler.com, mattsorensen.com, kegelsawyers.com. All of our stuff, you can get on our newsletters where we're giving announcements on updates on workshops, classes, podcast episodes, speaking events, summits, all that good stuff.
Yep. Thanks, everyone. See you next week.